Hey, good day everyone. So it's been a while since I posted my video. So right now I just want to talk about Unchained's weekend event. So it was a pretty good weekend for me. I was able to reach 17 out of 25 wins. So you can see that here. Unfortunately, I was, kind of expecting making it to 20 wins at least. But the problem is that in my last four games, when using this deck, not last four games, I think the last 5 to 6 games, it just went terrible. So you can see here I had 4 straight losses, which was insane. And a lot of those is just like, I don't know, I can't say I got lucky, or it's just that they're just really stronger than what than I expected. So those things happen. So I guess we went below to what we were expecting. But 17 is still probably good. I will try to tweak my deck a little bit better, which I'm gonna run through again what my deck was and how I used it. And so right now it's 17 wins. I'm gonna be able to get one rare epic legendary for both core and divine order packs. I was aiming for at least somewhere here 21. If not 21, then I think the best would be 19, because it would have the maximum amount of cards that I could get with the wins that I had left. But for the time being, I'm going to talk about the deck itself, what I used to actually get that 17 wins. So the main core of the zombie deck, so this is probably more of a deck that I copied from a separate deck, which I can't remember. He had Portable Fortress and he had Bronze Gate, which intrigued me, and Guild Enforcer. So I figured, like, okay, maybe I should add that, because in my old deck I didn't have these types of frontline units. So I think that's a key factor in the game, where it allows you to hold off enemy fights, especially for those enemies that have a lot of aggros, like War and Nature. You're gonna fight a lot of Nature in this game. It's like people like love Nature. Well, I can't blame them, because Nature has a lot of good units, and they're very bulky, and some of them are really difficult to remove, like the 1 mana Treant 1/4 unit with region 1. That's like super insane value for a card. It's really hard to remove, even for me. For this deck, it's really difficult. So yeah, so you might tend to lose to those particular decks, but still it depends on what you top deck at the end of the day. I've managed to win against quite a number of nature decks as well. But yeah, so sometimes the real fight is that you need to be able to control the board. Otherwise, it's gonna be an uphill battle. And the game that I'm gonna highlight here, ended up in a way that I was thinking, like, I don't even know if I'm gonna win at all. But yeah, so the main aspect of this deck is that you have to control the board. I had the boar here, which the Wild Hog really does wonders for early games. Skeleton Heavy as well. These two guys are my A team at the early game. If I can get them, they're the best to hold the board. And for the rest, even Voracious Fiend is not that great at holding the board, even if it has the 1/1 zombie afterlife, unfortunately. But I still need it for the leech, and it's a decent enough 2 card, so that's why it's always there. The key card that you would always want to get would be your Cursed Obelisks, either your Necroceptor or anything of the early game of sort, right? If you want to have your Blight Bomb, because tendency is if you're against nature, you're going to fight against those free Jaguars, you need to take them out. Even for War has a lot of 2-drops that are pretty strong, so you need to take those out. So you will most likely need Blight Bomb if you manage to draw it. But if not, then you can rely on maybe Wild Hog, Skeleton Heavy, Vanguard Axewoman, Voracious Fiend, and so on, right? Anything of the early. And one downside for Portable Fortress is that it has 0 attack. So if the enemy has the unit called, I think it was a Munosian something, like it will match whatever the attack damage of unit has to the health. So since this has 0 damage, it can just completely obliterate this card, which has happened a couple of times, which surprised me because I wasn't expecting that will happen. So yeah, so Portable Fortress has a very big weakness, because the Munosian card is being used quite often because it's a good card. So I don't know. I'm thinking I'm still gonna keep it because not all the time Notion is gonna be there. So yeah. So that's for me. And the goal of the deck is actually to just hold the board and damage your enemy enough to a point where you can complete it by doing corpse explosion. So this highlight video that I'm going to share with you is one of those cases. I had a very difficult time trying to hold the board because mage has a lot of removals, but eventually I did manage to hold it and managed to destroy the enemy using the corpse explosion. So this is not I would say a key requirement for you to win the game, but this is something that can actually help you win the game. Okay, so I think this is a main factor that I missed in my zombie deck earlier. I didn't know this card existed before until I started checking some zombie deck cards. So when I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I was missing. Because sometimes I was to a point that, you know, I'm winning the board, but because all I had are 1/1 units, it made it very difficult for me to kill off the enemy. Sometimes I'll take them down to maybe 10 or below, but there's no way to finish them off, right? I mean, I don't have any direct damage cards here at all, and I had to rely to Sanctum to get those deal free damage crystal to finish off the enemy. That's why I figured like maybe I need something to go through that, and I think Corpse Explosion is it. So I'm gonna show you the highlight game that I had with this magic deck, with the magic deck enemy I had, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And see you again within the week. All right, I'm gonna try and create other videos, not only Gods Unchained but also Skyweaver as well, because I want to work on my Skyweaver because it's one way to also have extra income for me. Right now GU is only good for weekends, and I still need to work on the decks, and yeah. Alright, so see you in the highlight video. So the pick is always the deal 1 damage to unit because that's very useful. And now we're just trying to mulligan for early game. We got the hog, which is great, and unfortunately we're not getting anything else. Alright, so first hand is always good because you have the hog, so it's good enough for me to contest the board. But I still need to worry about whatever the unit will, you know, whatever the mage will probably drop. So this is the first time I saw Shadow Scryer. I was like curious, like what the heck is that card? And he dropped this legendary 1/1. I didn't even know who this was, Demetrios. I was like, what the heck is this card? I mean, the advantage of this is that I can ping it off, which I did. And I killed this one off, which is great. So I still have the board. Now the concern I had right now is that the hand that I have are not, you know, not ideal. Although I do have Decaying Rhino, I did have Bronze Gate, but it's not something I want to have. But good thing I top decked Skeleton Heavy, so that's what I dropped and skipped the turn here. So right now I still have good control of the board, but of course this is Mage. Mage always have ways to get rid of your units, and that's what this is doing, what this guy is doing. Alright. So I was contemplating on, you know, I had options here, but I figured like Decaying Rhino would be the best bet here. And I don't recall why I didn't go for a face so I can keep the HP. But, you know, I mean, I can't recall. So the mage was able to take this one out quite easily, no problem. So my main response here is to always take out the spell boost unit. I always reserve Blight Bomb for these guys because these guys are going to be hell to deal with because of the +1 damage. And this one too, this card is super strong. I really hate this card, but this card is super strong for mage, and it gives it protected, which is really giving me a lot of headaches this time. And you know, the hand that I have right now is making it very difficult for me to think like, how am I supposed to win this? And I had to do an efficient way to remove this card because otherwise the enemy would just keep drawing cards using his spells. So I had to take it out. So I'm left with these guys, which is very bad for me because my hand right now is Cursed Obelisk is not gonna hold up because he'll be able to take it out quite easily. So luckily for me, in the next turn, I managed to draw the Bronze Gate again. So I just dropped the Bronze Gate and dropped the Obelisk and pray that the Obelisk will survive. That's all I was thinking. I was like, I don't know what to do now because like my hand is crap. Unfortunately, the enemy has a way to take it out, so he took it out quite easily. So I was very desperate at this point. I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, drawing Corpse Explosion early is really bad because it's not something you want to have it. You'd rather want this at the late game phase, not in the early game phase. So right now I'm already down to 17 HP, which is very bad for me. So luckily I draw the Vampiric Skull, so it gave me a little bit more push. So of course I'll take the Cursed Obelisk there.
I expect only victory.
Then again, it's Mage, so expect that he'll obliterate the cards. So yeah, he takes it out. I was quite surprised he used it on the Cursed Obelisk, not on the Vampiric, because Vampiric, I don't know, it's a 6/6 card, right? But I guess he was thinking like he had frontline, which makes sense because I didn't have any way to remove the frontline anyways, so I think it was a good call for him. So now he has the Eye, which will allow him to draw cards every turn, and I have no way to get rid of it. So all I could do right now is just try and draw if I could. Now at this point, at least I was feeling a little bit more safe because I had the board, but it's not a very strong board. It's something that Mage can just deal with quite easily. So here I'm contemplating, should I get Shield Maiden or should I use the weapon? Then I just decided to go for Shield Maiden because I didn't want to, I wanted to add more body to the board, so he'll have a little bit more difficult time to try and get rid of it. And he dropped this unit, so I was quite happy to see that because he ran out of mana, but unfortunately he had a way to get rid of my Vampiric Skull, so which delayed the fight quite a little bit longer than I was hoping for. So now I have the two main cards, the combo, right? Outnumber the Living and Corpse Explosion. So at turn 8, this will allow me to do the combo that at 18 damage, if I had all Nether cards on my board, I could just kill him. But right now he's at 28, so it's not something I can do, and I'm already down really low. That's why I need to focus on trying to control the board here. So I was still able to do that, luckily, and yeah, so I had to do Nether. So one thing I was curious about the Mage deck here is that it seems he didn't have any AoEs, or maybe he wasn't lucky enough to draw the AoEs. He never drew any AoEs for the entire game at this fight, so maybe he wasn't able to draw them, luckily, so I guess that's lucky for me. So here was still able to take out my Leech unit, which I was quite desperate to try and get Leech because at 13 health, Mage can actually just eliminate me quite easily. So I guess in a way for me there's a lot of lucky moments in this fight because I think he didn't have any direct damage here. Because the 6/6 unit is still alive to this point. Should have been able to kill it. Maybe he's also trying to dig for the cards. So I use Mark of Death here. So at least I will still have the 1/1 zombies because I need them. So I can trigger my Nether. Trigger my Corpse Explosion for the frenzy damage. So now we're bordering 8 turns, so this is the key turn for me. I was just really waiting what he drops, and he dropped this unit, which I felt like I was so relieved because when he did that, I was like, no way, this is going to be the win for me, right? I mean, if he leaves anything alive here, I'm gonna win, guaranteed. And he did manage to kill the Phalanx, I think. Oh no, he didn't kill anything. Alright. So yeah, so that nailed my win. 20 health, just deal those damage and outnumber the Living, then Corpse Explosion, it's done. So that's the combo, right? I mean, these are the points in fights where if I didn't have Corpse Explosion, I wouldn't know what to do with the Mage. I would probably just lose. So yeah, so this is a very great highlight for this Corpse Explosion deck. So this is something I would highly recommend you try and use. And of course, the deck is not cast in stone. There are certain key cards in this deck that you should need to have, like Corpse Explosion, or your Obelisk or something like that, right? So those are the key items that you need. So yeah, I mean that's it. So all you need to do is just try to control the board and do your best to try and make the right decisions. Do you hit face? Do you hit the board? Do you clear the board, or something like that? So yeah. So overall, I think this deck is great. I'm contemplating on trying to add one more weapon here. I think they had a weapon called it's a scepter that will deal 1 damage to the enemy for every friendly creature that dies, and I think this deck is a good fit for that. So I'm thinking to use that, and yeah. So we'll see next week how we do. And thank you for watching the video. So hope to see you again in my future video, guys. And if you have anything or any suggestions that you want me, and stay safe, people.